Hi, I'm Debbie Starr, and I am recording today my race story. I don't even know if I'll even use this footage, but I just knew I have to get it now while it's fresh in my mind. And just so you know, I'm Debbie Starr, regular mom, wife, and taking care of everybody else except for myself. Found myself, loving movie marathons to now I just completed my second half marathon in 1 year's time. And so this race was completely different. It was awesome. It was thrilling. And I just wanted to share this story while it's still fresh in my mind. Basically, I started off the race. I knew this was challenging. Everybody told me up front. This was a much harsher course than what I did at Green Bay. Green Bay was more flat, few hills here and there. But this race is basically a down and back. You start at the very top of a bluff at Eagle Point Park in Dubuque, Iowa. And it's beautiful bluff overlooking the Mississippi River. And you run all the way down that park, up and down some hills, but all the way downhill, cross town, onto a river walk that is all along the Mississippi that's beautifully paved and awesome. And we ran all the way down there and then turn around and run back. So it's a down and back. So as you can imagine, you're running downhill, it's great. On the way back is mainly you're going away from the river. You're going back up to the bluff. So the last couple miles are the most challenging because they're all uphill. And so as I want to share what the story is, where I've been training is just basically running around my neighborhood where I have all kinds of hills and things like that around here. And I've purposely decided to train harder for this race, knowing that those hills were there. So I changed my racing up a little bit, or my training up a little bit, to where I constantly run up the hills in my neighborhood. So I gotta say, as I was running this race, I was getting tired. I was noticing that I was literally the last racer, the last person, okay? And this race was awesome. As I'm running, there's tons of people high-fiving, saying, "You're doing great," cheering me on. But there's that little voice that really, when you're racing, you have to fight against you. Your worst thing is you. It's not the weather, it's not the heat, it's not the element, it's you and your thoughts and your mind. And so I started thinking to myself, oh man, I'm totally last. And so I just started praying. I said, God, you got this. I've trained, I've done everything I can, I hand this over to you. Lord, I really, really would love to be able to run the entire race because I really wanted to be able to, at the end, to say, I ran it all. Those other people who are seasoned runners who had to walk up the hill, because I had a lot of them tell me, just walk it, Deb, don't worry. Everybody walks up that hill, so don't feel bad if you have to stop and slow down and walk it. So I really was determined I was going to run the entire thing. And then also, I was like praying, Lord, please don't make me last. I don't want to be the last one across that finish line. And I really would love to beat my last time at Green Bay. It'd be awesome to go back and say I beat it. And even if it wasn't I really was knowing pushing myself would have been under 3 hours. But I said, I want to do great. I want to be able to do those 3 things if possible. And so as I was running, I slowly, as we turned around on the down and back, I started slowly creeping up and I could see people ahead of me. Where for the long time I was all by myself, solo runner, but it was great. I had my music jamming. I was running along the Mississippi River. It was beautiful. It was awesome. And it was happening. This goal that I had set before me to run a second half marathon, it was happening. So I totally had to soak it all in and just enjoy the moment. And I'm so thankful that I totally did. But anyways, as I was running, I still had that desire. I still had that goal that I wanted to meet of not being last. And so as I was looking ahead, I was starting to see people in front of me. And one person in particular, as I was running, every time that I would start to creep up on her, she would hear me coming. I'm sure because I was breathing, I gotta breathe, and so it's kind of heavy, but I got my headphones in, so I don't care. Anyways, I know she could hear me creeping up, and as soon as she did, she would start running again. She was walking. And so I just kept at my pace. I really wanted to hammer down and pass her, you know what I mean? But I knew I couldn't. I had to run the entire thing. That was one of the main things I was wanting to hit. And so I knew I would have to pace myself. So I kept continuing pacing myself. Get right up on her heels and she'd take off running again. And then she'd slow down and walk. And then I'd catch up with her and then she'd take off. Well, as soon as we got towards the end, the last few miles, where it's more going into the neighborhoods, uphill, back towards the park, that was really where my training paid off, because thank the Lord Jesus, I was able to pass her and another gentleman and get to where I wasn't the last in running in the race. Which, no matter what, when I was running, honestly, I did say at one point, because I kept doing this back and forth with her, I just said, okay, you know what, Lord, I give this over to you. If she needs this win more than me, then I hand it over. Because I've learned a long time ago, in order for you to ever have something yourself, you got to first be willing to give it away to somebody else. So there's times I still struggle with that. I'm totally human. And so in that moment, I really wanted that win. I didn't want to be last. And so I just had to pray, you know what, Lord, I give it over to you. If she needs this win more than I do, I give it to her, you know. But luckily, when we got on those hills, my training paid off. And I slowly climbed. And when she stopped, she couldn't run it. She had to walk. And I was able to pass her and another gentleman that was there. And I just kept, then I was like, oh yeah. So, you know, of course I'm going up against the hills. By the time I got to the top of those hills, I was tired. I was exhausted. And I was texting my husband and letting him know what mile marker I was at along the way so that he could be there at the end with the kids to, you know, see me cross the finish line and get the video and all that good stuff. So as I'm texting him, I can't find the 12. And of course I'm tired, I'm dehydrated, I'm exhausted at this time. And of course it's towards the end of the race. So it's heating up, it's getting warmer now. Anyway, so I texted him, I'm like, I don't know where I'm at, but I know I'm close. So the next thing I know, I get up another little bitty hill and I see the whole family standing there. The way this race works is you go, you run, you see the finish line where you're gonna cross, but then you run away from it and back down some hills, and it's just kind of rolling hills that on your way back up to kind of loop around the park to get to the finish line. And so my sweet son, Ethan, came and ran the last mile with me. And so as he was running with me, I was just like saying, thanks, buddy, you know, you're so awesome. And I'm encouraging him and I'm praising on him, because that's a lot for, you know, a 10-year-old in flip-flops to run a mile, you know, go from nothing to a mile. So as he's running with me, I'm just like, thank you, buddy. I'm so thankful that you're running this with me. You know, we're almost done. We're almost done. And at the end, as I'm coming up this little bitty hill and I'm seeing the finish line, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I just want to be done at this point. And so as I'm running towards the finish line, my son wiggles off, and then the crowd's cheering me on and you know, getting me to go across the finish line. And my buddy Jake, who I really just met him and his wife this past year through running, we did the Green Bay together, and then this was our second half marathon. He partnered up beside me and just said, come on, man, you got this. And so he gave me that extra encouragement. You know, here I was throwing out all that encouragement to my son the last mile, and then I turned around and immediately God gave it back to me through my buddy Jake. And that's exactly what I needed to get across that finish line. I thought, you know what? No, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I'm gonna rest in a few seconds. I'm sprinting across this finish line. And so I did. Took off, bolted, sprinted across. It was awesome. It was an amazing feeling. And that's why I wanted to get this on video right now. I know before I start my blog, before I have all these goals I wanna make, before I do. And so I don't know if I'll use this video or not, or if this will just be for my own purpose, but I want to get this on video just to say of how amazingly strong and powerful I felt finishing that up. I went from never thinking that I was ever going to do a half marathon to completing 2 in 1 year. And I just got to say, it was absolutely amazing. And that's why I have to get this on here. I just want to encourage anyone else who's out there thinking of anything, or any little dream, or any little flicker of anything you have in you. God has put that in there for a purpose. And I just want you to know, if you do the work, if you train hard, that training is going to pay off. And eventually, when you get to those hills, you're going to do it. And that's one of the things that I felt like the Holy Spirit was talking to me when I was going through this, is that, you know, your training pays off. There's times when we go through seasons where it's hard and we don't want to do it, but we do what we're supposed to do because we're disciplined. We're disciplining ourselves to do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. Not what we want to do, but when we're supposed to do what we're supposed to do, we do it. And when we do that, that's the seasons of when you're a disciplined and you're a trained person. When you go through rough times, you make it through. You make it through the other end. You run up those hills and you sprint across those finish lines. Because God has put that in you, because you have trained for it. I And so that was something that's so amazing to me when I was doing this, was the fact that my training paid off. You know, I had this dream to do a half marathon. I ended up doing 2. And when I crossed that second finish line, I wasn't last. I ran the entire thing. And I beat my first time by 7 minutes and 44 seconds. What? I mean, it was amazing. When I crossed that finish line and my husband's like, man, you beat your last time. It's great. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then when one of the guys, Rob, that was running the race said, hey, find out what her time is. I think it was like 3:0 something. And I was like, what? Right over 3? I was like, you know, my last Green Bay was 3:12. So I was like, wait a minute. How many is that? And so it was amazing. And it felt pretty bad, I gotta say, when afterwards, when I was talking to the chiropractor who was there adjusting me and adjusting people and stretching people out after the race, and a bunch of other people, they were like, wow, you PR'd on this course? They were all like, nobody PRs on this course. Like, this is difficult, you know? And so I gotta say, that was awesome. And so I just wanna encourage anybody who's listening to this, that you can do it. Don't quit. You can do it. Dream big. Do the hard work. Do the research. Find out what it takes to get there. Do the work, and then you'll get there. Don't give up. If you quit, you're not going to. When times get rough, that's where a lot of times people can't handle that. They can't hack it. If they haven't done the research, if they haven't done the work, if they haven't done the training, when the times get rough, that's when they get overwhelmed and they quit and they give up. And I'm just here to tell you, don't do that. You know, when I first trained for my first marathon, I know first half marathon, a lot of times there's a 12-week course online. I decided, no, I'm gonna give myself more time. I never done this before. So again, it felt so unattainable that I said, I'm not gonna give myself 12 weeks. I'm gonna give myself like 5 months. So I literally started in the fall training for my first half marathon that was gonna be in the spring. You know, I went from running a few 5Ks here and there, and I would train up, run 3 miles, be like, whew, thank God that was over. And I had to go back to old habits. So when my friend Angie first said, hey, you should do this race with me, the first Green Bay, you know, we're Packer fans, so it was kind of awesome to think about, you know, running a marathon up in Green Bay. But my son was graduating high school, so I was like, nope, I'm out, I can't do it that year. But then it never left me. You know, I had a friend who was encouraging me, saying, you could totally do this. And I was, in the fall, still thinking about the race I didn't do back in May. And so I started just thinking about that. You know, God, what would I do? What would this look like? And so I created my own training schedule. I did the research. I created my own training schedule. I allowed myself more time so that I had time in their pickups. I'm a mom. I got kids. Kids get sick. Things happen. There were times when I had a week where I couldn't run at all, when the kids were out of school for the summer. I mean, this race was harder to train for. The kids were out of school for the summer. It's 90 degrees outside. I have now learned that it's so much better to run in the snow and the cold, because you can bundle up, than it is in the summertime. You can only take off so much clothes when you're running outside, okay? So, anyways, I had to train through that, and I still had to go through it. So I allowed myself enough time, cushion, to where if there were days when I didn't hit my run, which that's gonna happen, you gotta train, you gotta prepare for those things. You know, the whole saying, if you don't prepare yourself, if you don't plan to and prepare yourself, then you plan to fail. So I did the research. I made sure that I had a training plan in order, and it ended up paying off. So anyways, I just want to encourage all of you to join me. Follow me on my blog, watch some of my videos, and I'm just going to continue sharing with you my journey that I'm going through, what I've done so far, what I've learned, and what I'm going to continue on doing. And we'll hold each other accountable and share things that work for us, you know, as moms and wives, as busy people. And I just want to encourage you in the waiting, that I didn't just go from watching movie marathons on the couch to then running a marathon. There was time in between that. And that in the waiting time is usually where people get discouraged and give up. And I just want to encourage you to not give up, to keep pressing through, to keep doing what you're supposed to do, and you're gonna get that. You're gonna hit those goals. You're gonna get where you're going. And that's why I've created my blog, and I just want to join you to all become my superstars on my team, DebbieStar.com, and that we will continue on our journey of in the waiting. So I just pray that you will continue to make healthy choices while you're in the waiting. All right.